All right, good day, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Murphy's Notes. It's a pleasure to have you with us again today. Today is going to be a special episode. We had a special episode some time earlier in the year where my siblings and my nephews and I talked about some of the things we've learned from my dad. And I promised on that episode that one of these days we're going to have a one-on-one with him to learn directly from him. So on this episode, I'm very pleased to announce that we have with us Dr. Okezie Ochuba. I'd just like him to say hi to us, and then I'll just briefly introduce him, and then we'll proceed. Yeah.
Good day, everybody.
All right, welcome to this episode. We are very happy to have you. Dr. Okezie Ochuba is a lot of things. He's a father, he's an entrepreneur, he's a seasoned administrator, leader, and a lot of other things, which you probably will get to find out during the course of the episode. On this episode, we're going to be asking him a few questions. So most of the people who listen to this podcast are in their 20s and 30s, majority of them. And this is a time when you need to make lots of critical decisions. Basically, just want to find out from you all of some of the principles that you think are some of your guiding principles that have helped you over time in life, especially something that you would want to tell your younger self in your 20s and 30s. What advice will you give to your younger self, given that maybe people who listen to this episode are around that age bracket, in terms of finances, in terms of success principles, in terms of career and all of that? So what are the key things you think you would like to share with us?
Okay, one of the things every young man must learn to do is what I call money management. Money management is a principle I adopted early in life to ensure that I control my finances. I don't spend anyhow. I convince myself before spending any penny. And I see over time that it has been very helpful. So money management is number one. No matter how much you earn, ensure that you are prudent in spending right from day one. Another thing every young man must learn is what I call multiple streams of income.
Okay.
One of the things we must run away from, I know it's not easy, is fixed salary income. If you want to be something in life, you must spread out. How do you spread out? Don't depend on one source of income from the beginning until you get married, because one source of income means that your income line is fixed. You learn over time that your life challenges and expenditure patterns are not fixed. Your health is not fixed. Your education is not fixed. Your training is not fixed. And so you need to start as early as possible to acquire other skills that will put some pennies in your pocket other than fixed salary or earnings. So those are some of the things that over time have guided me.
Okay, so you've mentioned two key things. I think they're centered around money and finances, which is what everybody likes to hear about.
Yeah.
Money management is the first one you mentioned. Second one you talked about is multiple streams of income. So just want to ask a question regarding multiple streams of income. So where's the place of focus? Some people like to say it's better to put all your energy into one thing and do it well. So how do you strike the balance between focusing your energy on one thing and doing it very well, and spreading yourself thin across different areas of endeavor?
Focus is very important, but you have to start early to identify your major areas of speciality. A man is a bundle of talents. As you grow up, you see that you can do so many things well. Mm-hmm. And each of those things you develop can put some money in your pocket. Mm-hmm. And so focusing is important. but it's good as early as possible to diversify, so such that you don't just depend wholly and entirely on one direction.
Okay, so if I get you clearly, you're saying it's important to focus. So, but as early as you can, you diversify.
Yeah.
So the sequence is to start by focusing on one thing and doing it very well, and then as you grow in that area of endeavor, you begin to find how you can veer off into other areas, other aspects.
Yes.
Okay. So these are two things you've talked about in terms of money management. So do you have any other money management tips or any other financial tips before we make plan?
Like I said, one of the things I have done over time is to convince myself before I spend.
Yeah.
I don't spend because people are clapping for me. Although people will see it as being hard, but you have your life to lead, to live. If people are clapping for you because you are donating money to them, when that money is no more, what happens? They will dump you like a pack of cards. So convince yourself all the time that you have it. You don't give what you don't have. Make sure before you spend, you can afford it. The key word is affordability. Do you have it? If you give this man 1 naira today, will you give him 1 naira tomorrow? And you know that in life generally, if you give today and you don't give tomorrow, you become an enemy. So why not from day one, cut your coats according to your clothes, no matter how tight it is.
Okay, so what you just said now, people might interpret it in different ways about the idea of giving. I know that you as a person, you are someone that likes to share with people, give to people for the purpose of goodwill, right? You try to help people, make people happy, and sometimes even at your own expense. So how do you manage all of that? How are you able to still manage the whole goodwill without like you said, creating enemies for yourself? And what you said is very right. Sometimes when you help somebody today, tomorrow the person expects you to help them again and again and again, and in a bid to maintain relationships. I know that maintaining relationships sometimes is not always very easy. So in a bid to maintain relationships, you are tempted to keep helping, right? So how do you strike the balance between helping people not from a place of plenty? You're just trying to, maybe you feel like this person's problem is something that you would like to support, even though maybe you weigh it compared to other things that you might want to do with your money or other problems that you might have, and you feel that this person's problem is bigger than your own and you just want to support them. How do you strike the balance between helping people for the purpose of goodwill and people now abusing it in the process?
Well, what I do is I draw a budget for a particular time.
Okay.
Take for instance, I'm visiting the village. In village there are countless people that will need your attention and your support. I draw up a budget, maybe 10,000, 20, 40 or more. I break the money into bits, 1,000, 500 to 200. I put them in different corners of my pocket. Yes. Such that if I see somebody that has 1,000 problem, I know I just support. And if that money finishes for that particular environment or visit, I will stop. I don't exceed my budget.
Yeah.
It helps me over time to make sure that I strike a balance between my spending on people and the money I have.
Okay, so I think you just mentioned something very, very important now, which is budgeting. So that's another thing that our listeners need to take note of. So as much as you want to help people, help, you need to have a budget for it, because you really can't help everybody at the same time. You can't help everybody. So what that means is that if perhaps your income is 10,000 and your budget for helping people is 1,000, you might want to help 5 people with that 1,000 or 2 people with that 1,000 or even one person. But once that 1,000 is finished, you know that is what was budgeted for this purpose, and it's finished. So
that particular moment.
So if somebody else comes, even if the problem might sound like it's a very big problem, and you at that point you can't really afford it. So as much as you want to help, you also have other things you need to take care of. So but then sometimes you might find somebody that it comes to you and it sounds like a matter of life and death, and you've already exceeded your 1,000 budget. What do you do in that kind of situation?
Well, there's always some adjustments in life.
Yeah.
You may find some loopholes, no matter how tight, to still assist, particularly when it's a very critical challenge.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, so I think we've talked a bit about money management and finances in general. So let's veer off a bit to other aspects. So talk about early career. Again, like I said, most of the people listen to this podcast, some of them are in their early career. Some of them are probably have done maybe about 5 years in their career, or still relatively starting out. I know you worked actively for at least 40 years of service. So that is not something that is very common now for someone to work in a particular sector for that length of time. People end up jumping from maybe one job to another job in the space of a few years. You've done like 3 different jobs or 4 different jobs. So what do you think helped you to rise to the top in your career through the years? What do you think helped you, especially at the initial time when you were starting out in your career?
Character. They say that character is everything. As much as possible, you must develop a character that's very attractive, a character that is very healthy, a character you want to be identified with over time, a character that will spur you to grow, a character that will make your principals in office to say, yes, this is a man I want to deal with. Character is very important.
Okay, so would you consider character? Do you think that character is even more important than technical skills?
Yes, you see, when we are graduating, we say character and learning. If you have learning without character, it may not take you far. If you have character without learning, you may over time go for training to improve on your learning. So both of them must go together, but character is more important for me. You may be very, very skillful in what you do, but character can stop you from growing.
Yeah, that's very true. So I think there's one major thing that you said that I picked out. You said character is not something that you just learn randomly, something that is built over time. You can always learn technical skills. If somebody comes and the person doesn't know how to do a particular job, someone that is superior can teach them how to do it. But if you have good character, that one is there. It's always going to be there. But if you have the technical skills and you don't have character, you would end up sabotaging your technical skills with your bad character, and it won't let you grow. Imagine someone who is working in a place where they have to deal with a lot of bookkeeping when it comes to finances and all of that, and then you start manipulating figures. That's a character problem. You might be very good at what you do. You might in fact, even manipulating of figures is also a technical skill, but it's a dent on the person's character. So it means that for you to succeed very well in your early career, you need character, and I think that's one thing that I picked up. So any other thing that you want to mention apart from character?
Yes, another thing that is aligned to character is goodwill.
Okay.
Goodwill. In accounting, it is given a very high valuation. Money, quick money, it's not always the best. Unfortunately, young people are in a haste to make quick money. It should be avoided as much as possible if you want to grow. You may amass all the wealth, but someday it may be a barrier to your growth. So we must be very careful about quick money. goodwill is very important, and it will take you very far. If you have character and have goodwill, you can be assured that tomorrow will be brighter than today.
Okay. It's not very clear to me how the quick money thing relates with the goodwill. Maybe you want to like help me shed some light.
Goodwill means one thing at a time. Live a good life. Be very careful not to be in a haste to make money. You want to live like the next man on the street. You want to buy a choice car. You want to fly first class in the plane. So you are always bored to make quick money. Quick money implies that it is not earned income. You want to just spread out. You want to be clever. You want to be smart, because you want to join the big league. It will ruin your career. Goodwill is making sure that whatever you do, you can defend it. And people will always count on you that your yes is your yes and your no is your no.
Okay, so so you just talked about making quick money now, and I'm just thinking about it that from the time you started your career till now, there's been a lot of changes, a lot of evolution in the whole workspace. Nowadays, with the advent of the internet and AI tools and all of that, it has become there are a lot of new ways to make money online quicker than people did in your time. So where do you strike the balance between someone can I feel like someone can actually have good character and still make quick money, right? So where do you strike the balance? And then somebody else might have good character, right? And then the person is trying to follow due process, or trying to just follow the normal way of doing things, and then the person ends up being laid back. So how do you strike how do you balance it between the idea of having quick money or trying to make quick money and the idea of being driven? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. Someone can just be naturally driven. The person wants to aim for more things. The person wants to keep pushing themselves to achieve higher things and not live the average life. So how do you now manage that between that kind of mindset and what you're talking about, making quick money?
Okay, quick money, maybe I have to explain.
Yeah, I think so.
Quick money does not mean that any money you earn through your capacity, through your skill, it's not quick money. What we mean by quick money is maybe by chance you are privileged to work in an office and you see that a lot of money is flowing around. Then you'll be
pocket some.
Yes, you'll be tempted to turn 100 to 1,000, 1,000 to 1 million.
Yeah,
that's what we mean by quick money.
And divert some.
But the money you make through your skill, no matter the quantum, cannot be classified as quick money because it's through a genuine skill that you have developed over time. There are people that work for 1 hour and they make $1,000. There are people that work for 1 month and they make $1,000. So it's not quick money.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. All right, I think that's quite. We've picked out a couple of things. So, is there any final thing you want to say on early career before we move to the final part we'll talk about today?
Yeah, one of the things young people should do is, as much as possible, identify your career path early. It helps you not to grope in the dark, because there are some people, you want to be an accountant, after some years you see that no, accounting is not, you are not cut out for accounting. You switch over to marketing. After some time you see that marketing is not the right path for you. You shift another. No. It's always good to identify your career path. Although all of us don't, as young people, don't have the same background. There are some families, their parents are educated and they can help them. There are others from a family that is not well educated and they now start groping in the dark until they find their path. But as much as possible, it's very important for every young person to identify your career path early so that you don't move from pillar to post. It helps you to rise quick in the career ladder.
Okay, identify your career path early. But this part, given the kind of in this part of the world, like in Nigeria, right? How do you identify your career? Because outside in the Western world, for example, of course we have some listeners in the Western world. People have access to things like counselors that can guide them on what path to take. But then over here, and then there are so many different career prospects too, given the kind of environment. But then in Nigeria, you have it's not as common to have those kind of things. So you find out that a lot of young people who are growing up like children, now when you ask them what do you want to be, you usually hear things like, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer, I want to be an accountant, I want to be a banker, I want to be a lawyer. Those very common things. So how do you now identify, now that there's a lot more diversification in terms of career, someone that doesn't have that kind of guidance from infancy, how does someone like that identify their career path? Because it's possible for someone to do anything. I can be a lawyer, I can be a doctor, I can be whatever, but I feel like people find it easier to do certain things than other things. Everybody may not be the same. Not everybody is cut out for the same kinds of things. Some people will be very good at entrepreneurship. Some people would never be good at entrepreneurship. They are good at working for somebody and working well for them. So how do you now identify it in that case? Because you probably want to try your hands on a lot of different things. So what makes it easy for you to identify which particular path you should take?
Even as young people,
yeah,
we can still help ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right from secondary school, there are subjects you find more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Such interest can power you to know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
I agree that we have paucity of counselors on this side of the globe, but even then, we can still on our own be guided by interests.
Mm-hmm.
Interests can also be a way of identifying the best. You may see yourself excelling in biology, you may see yourself excelling in mathematics, you may see yourself excelling in other subjects. Those subjects can actually power you as early as possible to move towards a particular direction.
Mm-hmm. But then again, as much as you might want to choose your direction, it's also at some point, because of the kind of society we find ourselves, it's not every day you find someone. A lot of parents, for example, and that even brings us to the other part I wanted to talk about, which is family life. A lot of parents will not support their children to take up certain careers because of the kind of mentality people in your generation have. And it's also a thing of pride for them to, you come and meet, and when you meet among yourselves, one person say, my daughter is studying medicine, or my son is studying this, and then you see your child come and tell you that they want to go into music. Maybe that's something that they are passionate about, but that is not the typical career path that someone of. So I think that's another thing. So for someone who is a young person that is growing up, the person might really want to study music, or the person might really want to go into arts, for example, but that is not, and the person might end up succeeding because that is where they have a passion. But then how do in the midst of the kind of society where we find ourselves, where such professions are not always encouraged, especially by the parents or by the general society, how does someone now manage to weather the storms in that kind of environment and still succeed and do what they really, really want to do?
What you said now is common.
Yeah.
I've seen somebody who studied medicine in Nigeria,
mm-hmm.
traveled to US to do literature, and he was teaching medical doctors literature.
Mm-hmm.
I've also seen somebody who studied fine arts because of imposition by the parents, only for him to come out and then go back to what he actually wanted to. What you said now is a fact, but that is one of the problems we are having in our areas. parents imposing their interest on it. See, and such things always come out with a lot of problems. It is always good to do something you have flair for, and such imposition will certainly bring some eruptions in future. So as much as possible, it is better for young people to do something they are passionate about.
Okay, what if what you're passionate about does not put food on your table? What do you do in that situation?
It's rare. It's rare. It has been established in many ways that passion can easily be converted to food. I give you an example.
Okay.
Some years back, I had passion for raising nurseries, but I never thought of commercializing them. But one year, I decided to do commercial. By chance, I raised a nursery for guava, and the guava, I harvested one, took it to a very big gathering and advertised it. That year, I made about 150,000 naira from guava alone. That is turning your passion or commercializing your passion.
Yeah.
It's always like that. You can see somebody who is passionate about music. Initially, he is doing it for the fun of it. Yeah. But as time goes on, people begin to say, come and play for us, come and play for us. You will see, so this thing can actually bring some cash. So it's always rare. But the only thing, you have to know how to commercialize it, particularly if you are very skillful
at it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think one major thing I picked from here is that you no matter what your passion is, you can actually find a way to commercialize it. And finding that way to commercialize it sometimes is very difficult.
Yes.
That's where the difficult part is.
Yes.
And it might lead you in the path of entrepreneurship, because it's the road less traveled. This is something, especially if it's something that people are not really, it's not very common in the part of the world where you come from.
If you look at the university system,
yeah,
there are many professors in the system who are well advanced in their areas. But some of them are looking for food to eat. Why? Because they are depending on their salary. Yet, if they know how to commercialize, they would have been far more comfortable. So it happens even at the lowest or at the highest level. Can imagine a professor looking for food to eat just because he doesn't know how to commercialize what he has developed over time.
Yeah.
So that's striking the balance between what you have and who needs it and who is ready to pay for it is very important. And that is what young people should do as early as possible.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, you are home and dry.
So what I just picked from what you just said now is that entrepreneurship is, every young person needs to think entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Needs to think entrepreneurship, because sometimes the job that you find yourself doing might not necessarily be what you are passionate about. But then for you to be able to expand or grow your income, you need to think entrepreneurship. Think of how you can commercialize your actual passion, which might not directly be what you are paid to do in your everyday salary job.
Exactly.
All right, that makes sense. So I think that brings us to the final part of the discussion, which is family life. In the society, the smallest unit of the society is the family, and you've actually grown a family successfully by all standards. You have children that are grown up, you have grandchildren. You have done well for yourself in terms of family life, in terms of raising godly people or raising intelligent, reasonable children and all of that. And then you have a successful wife as well and all of that. So what would you say is what have been the major principles that have guided you or that have helped you to achieve success in family life? Because a lot of people might have we see people that have a lot of money. We've talked about money today. People have a lot of money in their bank accounts. People are very successful in their careers. But then when you go to the home front, it's a different ball game. You find out that their family life is messed up. And when the family life is messed up, it also has a way of reflecting back on them. So what are the things, the major principles that you say have guided you in terms of family life?
Okay. Start early to make time for your family. Start early to make time for your family. one of the problems we have now in our present generation is that parents, mother, father are too busy to have time for their children. They are ready to pay any amount for coaches, for teachers. But there's a difference between what the teacher or with the coaches will teach your children
and what you as a parent will teach.
You need to imbibe your personality in your child as early as possible.
Yeah.
See, in a traditional setting, they say, whose child is that? The child carries the identity of the father, the identity of the mother, the identity of the family. So in our present generation, that family identity is almost absent, and that is one of the problems we are having. Father is busy, mother is busy, children
busy.
Copy, because when the goat is crossing the fence, the child will be watching. Because the mother is busy, the father is busy, and the children are watching. Everybody will be busy. As time goes on, nobody will have time for each other, and there's no family identity. You don't imbibe your personality in the child, and that is the problem we are having in our generation. There are some fathers that are not known by their children.
Exactly.
Because they travel to rigs, they go to work in Lagos, come back in a week or two, they bring all the monies, but money cannot do everything. There are some traits you need to imbibe in the child.
Okay, so I think you mentioned a lot of things in this one point, talking about making time for your family. There's a lot of things I have picked out of it. You said it's important to make time for your family, make time for your children, and you mentioned something that is very common. We have a lot of absent fathers in this generation, and they do it with the excuse that, I have to fend for the family, I have to provide for the family, I need to go out there and make money to pay your school fees and all of that. But you've rightly pointed out that as much as you need to make money to pay your children's school fees, there's a difference between what they will teach them in school and what you as a parent will teach them. I know that personally I've learned a lot from you that I couldn't have learned in any school. And it's because you were present, you were really present. So I don't know, there are different circumstances. Different fathers have different career paths. You never had to go to the rig because of the kind of career you had. But we have fathers today, we have mothers today who have to go to the rig and spend months there and all of that. So how would such people who have found themselves in such circumstances manage it? Because of course they have to feed their families, and they won't just resign from a job that's paying them well just because they want to make time for their family. So how do they now manage it in that kind of situation?
See, what we are seeing is that you're in the rig does not mean that you are perpetually absent from the family. When you are in the rig, you are given some time off.
Yeah.
At times 1 month, at times 2 months, at times 3 months. You will see that at times these people in the rigs will come back. They will still not have time for
their
children,
family
because they are used to being away. But we are saying, make out time for your family. You incubate the family like a hen, incubating eggs. Incubate, let the children know what their father stands for. Let them learn from you. There are some traits they can say, my father taught me, my mother taught me. Not I learned from school. School will do her own. Religious bodies will do it their own. But the family has its own traits
to play. Yeah. So I think that one major thing I can pick up from this point is, even though you are not around all the time, you need to make sure that the little time you are around, you you
stamp
your feet on the
and
ground
presence.
and your presence. So it's more like quality over quantity, because you can even be around with the children, but what do you do in that period you're around? What kind of memories do you create with them that they can remember over time? And I think it's important. This thing about family life, or about making time for your family, it reminds me of a video I watched some time ago. It was like a story. I think it was like a fictional story where if the children were not always available, because when they were growing up, their father was not available. So when the father needed them at the old age, they themselves were not also available for him. They were also busy because they learned how to be busy from their father. So I think it's very important, start early to make time for your family. So what else do you think you would like to talk about in terms of family life? What other principle apart from making time for your family?
I think
okay.
For now.
Okay. All right. Thanks. I think a lot of, so for me, I think that what that means is that starting early to make time for your family is one of the major things you think that can help you, can guide you as a can help your family as a as in terms of growing and being successful.
Okay.
All right, thanks. I think we can wrap it up right here. Just to summarize, we've talked today about financial principles. We talked about money management, multiple streams of income, and diversifying as early as possible. As much as you need to focus on one thing and do it well, and then as early as you can diversify to other things. We talked about early career, you talked about character and learning, you talked about goodwill, you talked about quick money, you talked about identifying your career path early and doing what you have a natural flair for. You also made it clear that people need to think entrepreneurship early enough. Try to find a way to monetize your passion and be entrepreneurial about it as early as possible. And then finally, we went into family life, and you said it that the most important principle for you when it comes to family life is to start early to make time for your family. And I think that those are some of the very very, very, very vital points you've made today. So thank you so much for making out time from your busy schedule to be on this episode. We really appreciate you. I'm sure our viewers have learned a lot from your wealth of wisdom. Hopefully we'll be able to feature you some other time again to learn a lot more things. Thank you so much, and have a very beautiful I don't know if there's any final word from you before we we wrap up the episode.
Okay. Sustain this episode.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah.